Hey folks, I have with me today Executive Chef Remy. You might know him from his last movie, Ratatouille. So you probably can guess what his signature dish is and what we're going to make today. So we're going to start, like I said, it's going to be a ratatouille. And I thought I'd give you a little bit of a background into the dish. Ratatouille is actually a French peasant dish. So it's usually made in one pot. It's a vegetable stew and it's not very fancy. The dish that you see in the movie is an elevated version of the dish. Now, we could make the traditional version and just put it in a pot and boil it together. But let's try and do the the elevated version that Remy here has invented. Right? So for this, we're going to need a few vegetables. There's zucchinis. Now you can use green zucchini as well as yellow zucchini. I didn't get the yellow zucchini in the market, so I just got the green zucchini here. You'll need tomatoes. I prefer using Roma, but you can use whatever you have. Here I just got simple tomatoes on the vine and eggplant. Now you get different types of eggplant. You could get the bigger eggplant, but in the interest of keeping everything about the same size, in this case the same diameter, I got the Chinese eggplant. This should be available at your local grocery store. It's not difficult to find. Besides that, if you remember from the first video I uploaded, and you can go back and see that video, I had made some pasta sauce, which is basically the French sauce tomate. It's one of the 7 core sauces or the mother sauces. So I usually make a whole batch and I can it. And just for your information, this is completely vegan. Besides that, we have some herbs. So I've got here some thyme, some rosemary, and a little bit of fresh parsley. Parsley is a very underrated herb, especially fresh parsley. I just love the flavor that it gives, and when you couple it with olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, it's amazing. So we also have some olive oil there. So let's get started then. We're going to start by just slicing up some zucchini. So what you do is, you could use a mandolin for this, but I could use it, but I prefer using my hand. You want to keep it as not very thick or very thick. You're looking at about maybe 1/4 of an inch or less, and that's what you need to keep it at. Now you can keep it a little thicker or thinner depending on what you want to do. Generally, I prefer keeping it a little thicker just so that it cooks evenly. So you have a little bit of bite and it doesn't really burn. So yeah, here we do. We're just going to slice the zucchini. Now, for this particular dish, I'm doing it with rounds. But if you're doing it the peasant version, you'd probably go with cubes or dice or thick dice, about 1/4 inch cubes. And that would be the easier way to do it. Now, if you're doing the peasant version, all you do is you cut all the vegetables and then you put them into pot with your tomato sauce and just cook it down. But in this case, we're going to make it look a little better, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Now the tomato sauce, you can see the video, but it's a fairly simple thing. It's just a little time consuming, in the sense the tomato sauce usually takes about 2 or 3 hours to make from scratch. It's just tomatoes, onion, celery, garlic, 1 red pepper, and carrots. So your basic miro pra, or your sofrito as you would call it in Italy or France. And just cook that down. A little bit of red wine if you like, that's completely optional. And I usually put some herbs in there, so I used rosemary, thyme, and basil. Now it's up to you whether you want to keep the herbs or not, but I prefer it with the herbs. It gives a nice flavor. And of course, the underrated one is parsley. But parsley is something that I prefer using at the end of the cook, because that just gives it a better flavor. So I'm going to use about 2 zucchinis and maybe about 2 eggplants. So this dish that I'm serving up today would probably feed about 4 to 5 people. And It can be a side dish, it can be a main dish, depending on how you look at it. It's completely up to you. So I'm just going to set this aside. And I have Chef Remy here supervising, making sure I don't do anything wrong. Right? So as you can see, the kitchens are looking a little different. We're currently renovating it. So my wife's been hard at work. I've just been working around the whole thing, making sure I don't get in the way. And of course our cameraman Zelig has also been working on that. So yeah, little check for me. Now we do the eggplant. So like I said, I took the Chinese eggplants because they're longer and thinner. So what happens here is that it gives you a nice even look when you're plating it up. Eggplant is one of my favorite vegetables. In fact, growing up in India, there was a million ways to cook an eggplant, and I loved every way that it was cooked. My favorite being a bharta, which is similar to an eggplant baba ganoush that you would have in the Middle East, but a little spicier. My wife hated eggplant until I started making eggplant parm, and that's her favorite vegetarian dish now. So kudos to me. All right. So we're gonna keep cutting some eggplant here, and so keep the eggplant and the zucchini roughly the same thickness. It's about 1/4 of an inch. That noise you heard was my new oven. So I just preheated that to 350 Fahrenheit, which is at what temperature we'll be cooking the ratatouille. And so it'll be 2 eggplant, 2 zucchini. I think that should be enough. And maybe about 3 or 4 tomatoes. You could use a mandolin like I said earlier, but I just prefer using my knife. And with a little practice, it's a nice way to practice your knife skills as well. So let's move this aside, the eggplant. And now we do the tomatoes. That out. So if you can get Roma tomatoes, get those, because those are much nicer and meatier as well as sweeter. But you know what, use what you have. I prefer using local anyway, so whatever grows locally, use that. That's my suggestion. Now tomatoes might seem like overkill because we're already putting this in tomato sauce, but you know what, sometimes a fresh tomato gives a different taste. So just try it out. Don't diss it till you try it. Once again, these are cut the same thickness as the other vegetables. I think we'll need a little more tomato. So this, like I said, is a peasant dish and it's a cheap eat. So usually it was made in summer when you had fresh vegetables right from the garden. I'm of course making this in the dead of winter in time for Christmas. But you know what? It makes a great side dish for Christmas and a nice way to get your veggies in. Because you've got at least 4 different types of veggies. You've got your eggplant, you've got your zucchini, you've got your tomatoes, and in the sauce you have celery, you've got onions and carrots. So yeah, very wholesome meal. Right, so that should be enough. So the next part is going to be starting to layer this into a baking dish. So this is the tomato sauce that we made. This was made about a month ago, and I pressure can them so that they keep for a good amount of time. So you're just going to spread a bit on the base of the dish. Put as much or as little as you like. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just let it settle down a bit, and we're going to layer it alternately with zucchini and aubergines, and in between I'll put a little bit of tomato as well. you can see it's going to be aubergine, zucchini, aubergine, zucchini. So if you had to use the large aubergines, obviously you wouldn't get the same look that you're getting with this one. And this is all because Chef Remy says that we have to do it this way, so that's how we're doing it. And I forget the tomatoes, didn't I? So as you can see, the tomatoes are larger than the other things, so I'm going to put a few here and there just so that it looks nice and even. There we go. So maybe 3 tomatoes a row, 3 slices of tomato a row. And what I like to do for this is I like to alternate the way that the vegetables are being stacked. So we started from the left in the first one, now we're going from the right. There you have it. That's how you're gonna layer that up nicely. And what we'll do is that we'll just top it off with some parsley. I'm gonna finely chop that. Just put some parsley on there. And use as much or as little as you want. Now, when it comes to parsley, I find that dry parsley has no flavor whatsoever, but fresh parsley has a lot of flavor. And then we're going to put a little bit of rosemary up there. So you can use fresh rosemary, but I prefer using dry rosemary. It just is easier because fresh rosemary doesn't keep very long. And then let's use some thyme, a little sprinkling of thyme. You can also use some basil and oregano, but let's keep in mind that there already is some basil and oregano in the sauce. You could optionally top it off with some Parmesan cheese or any cheese you like, but I'm keeping this one vegan. Oops, that's not salt, that's pure sugar. Let's reach for the salt. I'm going to use some coarse sea salt and just flavor the top of it a little bit. Sprinkling of salt. And this is also again optional because there is salt in the sauce, but I like putting a little extra, finishing it off with it. And Chef Remy says a nice plug of olive oil. So let's just do olive oil, a nice drizzle. And this will go into the oven now. Top rack or middle rack, whatever you prefer. And we leave that at 350 for about 30 minutes. And we leave it in there for that time. Okay, so the oven just beeped, that means it's done. And let's see what it looks like. And there we have it, Ratatouille.